New Level Cap podcast is a show about fun, friends, game design, and all things otherwise. Your hosts are Marco DeSantos and Brad Telton of Level 99 Games. I'm Chris Solis, your producer, and without further ado, please enjoy the show.
Hello. Yes, you, listener. Welcome to the New Level Cap podcast. This is me, your host, Dubious Maximus Aglericus the Fifth. I have taken over this podcast and am now fancy with my new microphone. I'm so fancy, Brad. I don't know what this accent is.
Or whatever your name is. Your fanciness is shocking even to me.
Off the charts.
Yeah, off the charts. Certainly turned up to 11. Hey, we are joined by a special guest. All strangeness aside, we are joined by a special guest, Trey Chambers.
Hello, I'm here, and I am, in fact, Trey Chambers.
Are you sure? Are you not Dubious Maximus Aglericus the Fourth?
Not that I know of.
Oh, that's quite unfortunate. Well, regardless, Trey, what the heck are you doing?
You can still call him Son if you want.
Son? All right. Hey, wouldn't he be Dad? Wouldn't he be Dad since I'm fifth and he's fourth?
I forgot if you were fifth or fourth. I guess you could call him Papa if you want, but that's even stranger.
Papa. No, but seriously,
all right.
Trey, why are you on the show? Why are you here, Trey? What do you do? Why are you so important?
For his many sins.
Yes, to confess my many sins, and I believe today's topic is Empyreal spells in Steam, of which I am the designer.
Really? I never knew that.
Yes, so Trey is the designer of Empyreal spells in Steam and of Argent the Consortium, and of various upcoming Level 99 games, which are not yet revealed.
Secret.
Secrets. And of various Level 99 games, which have never been published nor revealed.
Yes.
Also secrets. Sorry, Jimbo.
All right, so obviously there's a secret
we can talk about the apocryphal games that were not published later on in this episode.
Power Grid of Indians. It's like Power Grid, except you punch people too.
One thing I'll say about Trey's games, they're not derivative. Trey's shown me a bunch of designs over the year, and they've all been extremely novel and interesting and great foundations to bring the world to life. So I guess I can to vet the authenticity and value of our guest, I'll say that Trey has been great to work with all these years. He's always a lot of fun to hang out with, always a lot of fun to shoot ideas with, and always willing and open to make anything even better. So without further ado, Trey Chambers.
Trey Chambers. Hey, Trey.
Yes.
How do you feel about Brad?
Basically the opposite of everything you just said. He's very rigid.
The opposite.
He's very hard to work with. He's not open to new ideas.
Maybe more the opposite in that I'm the one that suggests all the new ideas, and I'm, receiving new designs rather than making. Trey, you don't have to be so man.
Welcome to the New Level Cap podcast, where we throw our friends under the bus. On this episode, we're talking about trains, not buses. I should have said train.
Next Trey Chambers game, Traitors of Indians.
Traitors of Indians. I love it. It's like werewolf.
Traitors, get it?
Yeah. Oh my god, I hate you. And everything.
Yeah,
let's move on to the topic.
Me too right now.
Oh my gosh. Let's move on to the topic for this week, which is Empyreal. Right. So the docket for this week is going to be very great. We're going to spend the first half of this episode giving you all updates on Empyreal and talking about Empyreal in general, where it is in development and where it is in production. When are you going to be able to hold Empyreal? These questions and more for the first half of the episode.
Let's lay a little bit of groundwork, because I know that most of our listeners probably know what Empyreal is, but just to lay it out there on the table, Empyreal is the next game designed by Trey Chambers. It is kind of a sequel to Argent in that it's a Euro-American hybrid style of game, and it continues the story of the world of Indians after Argent into an industrial era. It is a railway game where you build your own rondel, use that to execute actions on the board, and through the actions that you take, you build out a railway network and ship goods to locations around the world. On top of all that, you have variable player powers. You build out your own company and engine with various technologies that you acquire. It's pretty standard, or I wouldn't say standard, but what you would expect from level 99 games. So this is a true level 99 game with tons of variety. and kickstarted last year in spring. We're now finishing up the production, and we're planning to ship it out later this year. So that's Empyreal.
And that's Empyreal. Trey, what's Empyreal to you? Like, what was this design all about? Like if you sell me on Empyreal in like less than 3 sentences.
All right. Well, the way I describe it generally when I'm getting people hyped for it is it's basically a train game with special powers, asymmetrical abilities, different ways you can build your engine. Like, I basically try to remove all the boring bits of all these dry train Euros that exist and try to make something really special, and I think I succeeded.
Okay, that was more than 3 sentences. You're disqualified.
I don't think so.
What?
There
Really?
were some
I don't think
run-on
so.
sentences there.
They were pretty long sentences, but
Those were run-on sentences are not sentences, right?
Sure
So
they
you
are.
failed.
They're just incorrect sentences.
it's in the name. Sentences is in the name.
It's just a type
Why?
of sentence that's grammatically incorrect.
Are you sure? Like, if I say I'm not a person, am I still a person because it has person in the name?
Wait, which one of you teaches English literature, and which one of you is a foreigner?
Obviously, bye-bye, and leaves the podcast. Okay, fine. You know, at the end of the day, I really like Empyreal because basically it is a railway building game where you're wizards and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's fun. I always like this theme. I see railway building often, but I haven't really seen railway fantasy a lot. Like I've seen it in like
There's very few.
There's
Iron Dragon?
Iron Dragon, and yeah, that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally the only one I can think of. And, you know, like, fantasy trains are always so cool to me. And this entire game is literally just 7 or 8 different kinds of fantasy train. Like, one of them is a bunch of caterpillars. One of them is, like, it teleports. One of them is a ghost train.
There's ghost trains.
That you
You've got
Hey,
the...
Trey, quick question. Have you implemented a mechanic that lets me suplex the ghost train?
No, that's in the Suplex expansion.
Ah, dang. Gotta buy that expansion. OP. So let's talk about... So now that we know what Imperial's are...
Hashtag fake expansions.
Okay. In case it wasn't very clear, that's not real. But maybe on April Fools, we should do a suplex expansion. Like for like $5.
How many games combine trains and wrestling? Pretty much 0, to my knowledge, so let's be pioneers.
Well, Final Fantasy VI.
Oh.
Well, Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah, just that one.
Just that one. Okay, no, but in all seriousness, let's talk about Imperial. Let's give some updates. So,
Wardlaw's in this game, so I guess it's already in the realm of possibility.
We can suplex the train with Wardlaw. It's perfect. It's actually perfect. That should be his specialist power. Like he's a surveyor and he lets you explode someone's like train tracks or something. So he can actually literally suplex a train.
Well, Ariel can definitely do it. Trains definitely get destroyed.
I'm in for it.
Yeah, okay, it's perfect.
Okay, the tangents are unreal.
The tangents are unreal, but the questions are real. So, I know that you've been doing these tangents to avoid the questions, so here's the hard questions. What's the current status on Imperial? I know that we're shipping it later this year, but
yeah,
what's happening?
So, we have a few revisions in production to make after we saw the prototype. So, we saw the prototype of like the final prototype of everything today. So we reviewed that on stream on YouTube. You can go and check the YouTube stream and see me and Trey introduce all the components, show off everything. The game is completely beautiful. Everything is in place. There are a few minor things that we think there's a likelihood of player confusion, and so we're going to update the game to make a few things about setup a little bit clearer. And a few of the international editions had slight changes that they needed to make to like the bottom of the box or to some of the tiles. So we have to put in those updates. That probably sets it back another 2 weeks. After those are done, those changes are made, then we will begin production. It's about 45 days to get the whole thing done. And then after that, we ship it. That takes about another 2 weeks. So we're about 60 days out from the game arriving in our warehouse. And so that means right now it's July, 60 days out, we'd be looking at August, September. So we're probably going to be shipping the game, like it'll arrive on your doorstep in the early and mid-October.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So I want to make it very clear, Trey, there's nothing left in terms of like changing game mechanics or anything.
Oh no,
right?
we finished that a long time ago. It was mainly an art delay, I believe, that delayed it this long.
All right, it makes sense. You guys have over 100 something different characters, unique pieces of art.
Well, we made the decision to definitely way over 100. We made the decision to do all new artwork for Empyreal. So just about every piece of art in the base game, just about everything in the expansion is brand new. There are a couple characters that return from Argent, and so they use their same art because they haven't really aged or changed jobs since then. But everybody who has changed jobs to join the railroad or aged or had some other major status change in the story has been redrawn.
Yeah, I've seen some of the art for Eric and Hikaru, and they just look different now. Oh,
yeah.
Well, they're older, I guess. They're older, I guess. It's true. All right. So we're talking about status updates. So let's talk about gameplay updates. So this will be Trey's segment. I know that you said you pat down all of the mechanics. Are there any giant changes that happened? Any small changes that happened prior to locking it all down? The thing about it is that Imperial's development, we streamed a bunch of Imperial months ago, maybe almost 8 months ago, and the game's probably changed a bit since then. So, Trey, anything that has changed significantly from that point on?
The only thing major that changed in the last, I guess, 6 months of testing was when you do your little kind of reset action to get all your mana back. I believe it's called Administrate in the game. We changed that to where the only reward you can take now is a spell car, whereas before we allowed you to take a specialist or a mana just like you get when you deliver the end of line. But we felt like people were not taking the spell car option at end of line very often, but we wanted to make sure players were exploring the mechanic of building your custom rondelle. One, because it's probably a little underrated. It's very powerful to build that, but players just weren't doing it because they're thinking just, oh, mana is better, or having a specialist is better.
It doesn't look powerful when you look at all the other options, but
exactly.
It is very important and powerful.
So to kind of nudge players in that direction, now when they administrate, the only thing they can take is a spell car. So that is the main big change to how the game functions that we made in the last 6 months. But other than that, the game is the same. We just were basically balance tweaking in that last 6 months, making sure all the captains were balanced against each other, making sure the specialists were balanced, and developing the automata, which is the solo mode for the expansion.
Okay, that's great. Among all of the captains, let's just talk about captains for now. Who was the most problematic, at least in terms of the development of the balance?
Their abilities weren't problematic as much as the mana cost. We had to, deciding which captains were going to be free to use, which captains were going to require mana to use. We had to do a lot of testing to figure that out because, we had to fine tune them against each other. So we eventually figured out the ones that were a little more powerful on power level with the other captains, we had to add a mana cost to those. So if you see, some captains have mana cost, some don't. That is the reason why. Do
you have anybody on the top of your mind, like Seth? Maybe Seth. Is Seth one of those characters who now has a mana cost to his ability?
I don't remember. I know we had to definitely add one for Star Chaser, the one that lets you pop up on the edge of the map. That's a really powerful ability.
Okay.
So we had to add a mana cost to that one for sure.
Makes sense. Yeah, Seth's the one that lets you, when you hit a rondelle, you can make everything in that line free.
Oh, yeah. He's really good. I don't think he has a mana cost, though, because his whole...
It wouldn't make much sense to give him a mana cost, because...
His whole power is, save mana by using him. Same thing for Kerrigan. She lets you jump ahead, but for a cheaper cost. You can make all the jumps you want except for the furthest jump. The furthest jump still costs 2 mana. She's actually one of the balance changes we had to make because originally her power was you can jump as far as you want for 0 mana, and that just wasn't working. It was way too powerful.
Right. It gave you too much control over the end game.
Yeah, you could just rush your deliveries way faster than anyone else could possibly keep up. So now she has a slight mana cost to her biggest jump.
Well, and she also, it's limited to 4, too. That's a big change. You can't jump the whole rondelle.
Yeah, no one can jump the whole rondelle. There's nothing that lets you do that.
That's pretty powerful. I remember playing Runica before, and I think she's the more mana-efficient character. She generates a buttload of mana. So I would skip rondels all the time, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, among all the things, Brad and Chris, what's your favorite thing about Imperial right now? Like, what are you most excited for it as a game? Like, not as somebody who makes the game, but as somebody who, like as a player, right? You can't go like, oh, I'm excited that it's about to ship, right? No, what about the game are you excited about?
Well, I'm Trey, by the way. I'm not Chris. Chris is that other guy.
No. I renamed you Chris, much like in the previous episode of the podcast. I
You
was
might say
renamed
he's
to
been
Michael.
rechristened.
Yeah,
Wow.
you've been. Oh my gosh!
Wow.
You know, in the last episode of Exceeding Expectations, I got renamed to Michael, so I've just taken it with full liberty to just rename all of the people in the company.
That's fine. As you might expect, I really like different powers. So to me, the coolest thing about Imperial is, the same thing as with Argent. It's just all the different powers and combos you can do. So trying out all the different captains, trying out all the different spell cards, trying out all the different specialists. Like, that's what excites me about Argent and Imperial, is like all the different abilities and powers and trying to come up with new combos and new strategies based on that. Like, to me, that's why these games have so much replayability, whereas many Euro games don't. Whereas, like, in other Euro games, yeah, there might be variability in the setup or whatever, but we're still doing the same thing over and over again. In Argent and in Imperial, every time you play, you basically have to come up with a brand new strategy, so it's pretty awesome.
I'm on the same page with that. For me, I'm really excited about the team modes in the game and how my strategy and my partner strategy are going to interact together to create one larger cohesive coordination strategy between us. And I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic to play. It's something that we haven't seen in any other level 99 game yet. So the dynamic of asymmetric powers with team play is going to be something really cool in this game.
Yeah, I think it's also the first level 99 game that has a solo mode and a co-op mode and a competitive mode. So it has all three.
Hey, wait a minute.
Battlecon Devastation had all those modes,
yeah.
But this is probably but certainly this is a game where it's the other modes are more balanced, if you would say. Like Battlecon, you definitely want to play the competitive mode, and the other modes are additions. In this one, it's really more that, the free-for-all is the main game, but the teams and the solo are balanced with that. They're kind of on the same ground level.
Hey, I feel a bit sad that nobody mentioned Millennium Blades, which has all of those modes too. And right?
Right. Millennium Blades has a solo mode?
Yep.
It does.
Huh.
Yeah. So
how does the trading work in that?
There's no trading. You just fight against the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah. No, but really, I'm excited for Imperial, and one thing I'm really, really excited for is it's weird, but I love lore in the world of Indians. I love the world of Indians as a setting. So what I'm really excited for is to see how all of these characters have developed, right? Like why is Hikaru like this, or why is Seth manning trains now instead of being the royal oracle vizier character for the leader of Sanghalim? Like, all of these things are really cool to see how the characters have progressed through their years, and I really, really like that. I'm really excited to see how everyone's doing, so to speak.
One of the things that I'm really excited about is the characters that we brought back from Argent, who had only appeared in Argent, because they have had a larger jump in development since we haven't seen them in any other games since then. So you really see some of those characters who were students before, particularly the Argent students, have grown up and joined the workforce, and you can kind of see the careers that they have now gone into.
Yeah. Hai is a waitress, I think. I really love Hai. Hai is my favorite Argent character. So, woo! Yeah. Regardless.
There's a lot of fun ones.
Yeah.
And Noko has done a really great job rendering everybody into the new style of the game and into, a new era.
Yeah. Okay. So before we head on to the break, I want to make it very clear that we're talking about Imperial right now for many reasons. It's almost coming to print. We just recently streamed about it, so you can find the link to that stream in the comment section or description down below. And we also are accepting pre-orders for Imperial right now. So if you feel like this discussion that we've talked about right now with Chris and George has been very interesting to you, Brad is now George, by the way. We're taking pre-orders right now. Check the link in the description down below to get to our shop and look for it. And Trey, have you seen the video advertisement that we've made for this pre-order thing?
No.
If not, I'll send it to you later.
Yes,
when you say we actually mean Marco. The video advertisement that Marco made for Empyreal.
That's true. But I'm not Marco. I'm Michael.
Well, I would like to see
How can
Michael's
anybody keep this
advertisement.
straight?
That would be awesome. I did not know there was a video, but I will tell you this: I have been seeing ads for Empyreal in my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter feeds, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
So yeah. Well, click on those ads and get yourself a copy, Trey.
Oh yeah,
because
I will do that.
Wait,
yeah.
It looks like a
click
great
those
game.
ads. Buy your own game, Trey. That's right. Buy your own.
You get royalties on it.
Yeah,
Why not?
He gets a kickback. If Trey
You
spends
might,
more,
if you buy enough, you might actually make money.
Yeah. Whoa.
it's true.
Whoa.
Hey Brad, quick question. If you buy a copy of Empyreal from yourself, do you make or lose money?
Well, you can't buy it from yourself. So the organization that owns it obviously can't buy it. But so let's say Trey bought it and then he sold it at the same cost he paid. He would make money because he also gets a royalty when we transfer ownership of the game.
Wow.
So
Time to
all you have
scam.
to do is buy us out of the entire print run, okay? And then at MSRP, then sell the entire print run at MSRP, and you'll make a additional return on investment equal to your royalty agreement.
I do believe I get a
Big
discount,
money.
though. I think that's in my contract. So actually, I can make even more money if I do this.
Uh-oh.
I think
we
I-
found a way to hack the system, boys.
I think, maybe I'll start a pyramid scheme, too. Like, I'll recruit other people to sell Empyreal for me, and I'll just rake in that money, too. So I'll just make all
Yeah,
kinds
if-
of money.
You want to join? If you want to join Treybeline, you can email him right now.
No, okay.
Twitter at eternally bored.
Quick comment. I'm pretty sure pyramid schemes are illegal, right?
Only if you get caught.
Only when they fail. Yeah,
Only if you get caught.
You know
it's
what?
illegal to fail a pyramid scheme.
I take a break from this. I take a break from this entire discussion. We're going to go to a break right now. It's going to be very short. We're going to give you a small ad, and we'll be right back.
The biggest fighting game event in the world, EVO 2019, is coming soon. Come play some Street Fighter Exceed in the vendor hall. Meet new players. Test your might against level 99 game staff. And grab a free Ken vs. Ryu demo deck while supplies last. We look forward to seeing you there.
Why are we endorsing pyramid schemes?
I think Marco's right though. I think pyramid schemes actually are illegal.
They're illegal, but then explain Mary Kay. How is that not a pyramid scheme?
Well, multi-level marketing, right?
Multi-level marketing is basically another name for pyramid scheme, and yet they still operate somehow.
Well, a pyramid scheme is a specific kind of like securities investment project, right? With the multi-level marketing, you are purchasing a product. So there is an exchange of goods or services for money. It's not an exchange of money for more money in the future. It's not an investment product.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's actually it's a different classification of business. You can choose to pay too much for goods, and you own the goods. You can't choose to you can choose to make a bad business decision, but you can't choose to make a fraudulent investment. That's illegal.
I really want to make a pyramid scheme game now.
Is Ponzi scheme any good?
It's pretty good, yeah. I liked it, but all my friends hated it, so it doesn't have broad appeal. So I want to see if I can design
What's
a game
the
that
new
has
one?
broad appeal.
Dragons.
Yeah, that's the
Interest or
new
something?
one. I haven't played it yet, though.
Oh my gosh, Brad. We should totally make a game that's like Dragon's Den or Shark Tank.
Those pitch games, they're kind of a dime a dozen. That the market's actually pretty saturated.
Really? Wow, I never knew.
Yeah.
What do they call that genre? Is it just the snake oil genre? Or-
Snake oil, but the real popular one was it had some really long name. It was like a phrase. I forget what it.
I can't believe these are good investments.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But yeah, it was. I actually own it. It's pretty good for a party game.
There's also a similar game in the Jackbox Party Pack.
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
Wow, I never knew.
Yeah, it's a subgenre almost.
Wow.
pitch
Yeah,
games.
but I think Brad's right. I think the board game market is probably saturated because there's already a few good ones.
Yeah, you would have to have a pretty special approach to it in order to make it stick. But there aren't a lot of games about investment banking. And,
Yeah.
and
Maybe
if
for
you
good
could design
reason.
a great fantasy investment banking game,
I mean, there's
the world will come to your doorstep.
there's Ponzi scheme, and then there's that Dragon's Interest game. But yeah, maybe I can come up with a good fantasy pyramid scheme. That would be pretty great. Pyramid schemes of Indians. I'm in for it.
Pyramid schemes of Indians.
Oh, really? The question is not whether you're in; it's how many more you can bring in under you.
I hate you and everything. Okay, so welcome back from the break. That wasn't a break and was actually.
It's not
just
about
us.
your hate. It's about how much hate you can inspire in the people under you.
Oh no! It's not about how much you fall down. It's about how many times you can get up and keep moving forward. My Sylvester Stallone is really bad, but Rocky quotes. You know, Brad, you keep bringing me down with all of these investment banking quotes. And really, the only product that I would like to have is Empyreal. So let's ask some hard-pressed questions fresh from the baker's mouth for both you and Trey. Trey, are you ready?
I thought I was Chris. Now I'm just confused.
No, you're both. You're
We're all everyone. This is the like our identity's been subsumed into the collective.
Excellent.
No, this is a pyramid scheme of names. See, it's not about how many names you have.
It's about how many names you'll eventually get once this scheme pays off. I'll give you my name now, but I'm going to get 2 names back in the future.
Exactly. Not only are we a pyramid scheme, we're also a pyramid scheme of fae folk. So we need people's names, right? Don't tell people that Level 99 Games is run by fairies.
That's actually kind of a cool premise. So if you can collect basically like these little ephemeral things, you collect these ephemeral things from people, like let me take your regrets and your name and your 18th birthday and and now these are my treasures that I'm hoarding away. Interesting.
That would be a cool story and or game if you can somehow codify that. Okay, wait. Now this is turning into Design Hour with Marco, Brad, and Trey. No, this is Empyreal Hour with Marco, Brad, and Trey. First question.
We could do that later, though.
We could do that later. That would be really cool. We just pitch a bunch of games. That would be so cool. All right, wait. Adam asks, okay, so Indians has train engines now. Will we continue to see this reflected in the next Indians game, or was this just a glimpse into the future of the world, and now we return to our regularly scheduled pre-industrial fantasy programming?
So we've had engines in the world, and we knew that because there were characters like Rokyo Cadenza that were used machines or advanced technology. So we've had those elements in the world. This is the first time when they've kind of been organized commercially, but the world has a timeline, and we'll see these changes moving forward. Like in Argent, they build the Transcontinental Railroad, and that changes things going forward in future games. We may still do some games that are pre-Imperial in the timeline, but there are planned games that will be post-Imperial in the timeline, and they will be affected by these changes, just like they're games that are post-Argent or post-BattleCon in its various incarnations. There is a complete timeline for the game, and we are going to be fleshing that out much more completely in the Grand Chronicle art book, which is coming out with BattleCon Unleashed. So if you're curious about the continuity of the world and all the events that cascade together, you'll be able to get the full experience of that lore in the next few months when Devastation Remastered and Unleashed arrive.
Ooh. Does this mean that your next game is going to be Indian's Magical Programming, the game?
I don't think Brad is letting me talk about games in development yet, unfortunately, but I can at least just confirm what he said in that some of the technology you see in Argent will continue, or in Imperial will continue to be present in future games and maybe even more advanced.
We will say that the game that Trey is working on now is one of the most requested games that we received in our year-end survey. So if you participate in that survey, you're helping us to choose which games that we pursue in our development. So look out for that survey again this year and help us make the right decision for what we're going to create in the coming years.
Yeah,
but this is a game that most of you are looking forward to.
I see. So it's obviously the single-player shonen sports anime game where we play Indians characters who play basketball.
I think one person might have put that on their form.
That person
Michael.
was me?
It might have been Michael, yeah.
Yeah, it might have been Michael. All right, next question. This is more of a Trey thing. So, in Empyreal, you must now complete your second row in your rondel before you start adding things to the third row in your rondel. This used to not be the case. Why?
Well, so what we found was that players, specifically me and some of the people who play the game a ton of times, we would often just develop one column and get enough mana that we could hit that column, and then jump to end of line. So we'd be delivering every other turn and not developing the rondel enough. So similar to the reason we made the administrate change that forced you to develop your rondel, we wanted to make sure players weren't just developing one slot on the rondel and then just paying the cost to hit that one slot over and over again. So now, you usually over the course of the game will hit each spot on your rondel at least once, which I think is better for the gameplay. And it also makes you more interested in developing that rondel because you have to develop all the spaces before you can get to your last unlock, the last row.
Yeah. So it basically gives you this progression, right, of building up power over time as opposed to just front-loading everything.
Correct.
There is a less interesting strategy, which is more powerful, and so we took that strategy out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's
and
fair.
So the game is more interesting.
So I guess this is a follow-up question. A lot of people often view these kinds of design decisions with a bit of skepticism because they're like, oh, you're removing an avenue of play or avenue of choice for me in the game. Therefore, there are less options in the game. How do you feel about that kind of sentiment?
I would say in this case, it adds more options because previously, before we made that change, you could literally just get 2 spell cards in your rondel and then you'd be done with your rondel. But now you're forced to develop new strategies and you're forced to develop other areas of your rondel. So it actually, even though it's a restriction, it's kind of forcing you to have more options, to explore more avenues, to open your strategy up. Instead of just doing one thing and hammering that one thing over and over again.
Are you saying that restrictions breed creativity and design?
I would say absolutely.
Yeah,
that the negative space in a game is very real. It's a lot of the things that you cannot do in a game that make the difference, right? Like soccer, you can't use your hands. Well, we're taking away creativity and opportunity from the players. No, these restrictions are what really make the game work. So taking out strategies that aren't interesting makes the game better.
Yeah.
And I can point to a classic sports example for this. Actually, in the middle of I guess I'd say the early age of basketball, it was often a strategy to just wait out the clock and not take shots. You get a lead, you hold the ball, and you don't press the offense. And it just wasn't interesting gameplay. And so that's why the shot clock was invented. So that players have to move the game forward. They have to try different strategies. They have to push the offense. Even if it's not, the soundest strategy, by taking out the opportunity not to, to do that thing, you create more depth of strategy and also a more interesting game.
So are you telling me that sometimes designers make changes to the game in order to not necessarily facilitate balance, but mostly to facilitate a better and more fun experience?
Absolutely. Even basketball.
Even basketball. It's completely true. Even basketball. Heck, boxing, right? Like a sport where literally the goal is to punch the other person. They even made changes to boxing so that it would be more exciting, which is to say that that's why the scoring system exists, right? Because without that, the best strategy would always to just be do nothing for the first few rounds and only fight at the end.
Yeah. Well, it's important to realize that balance serves the game and the game serves people. Right?
Oh, that's true.
And it's very easy to flip that in reverse when we get into competitive games, that we feel like we're serving the game and the game is serving balance. But really, the game is there for our entertainment, and any purpose or any activity beyond that is superfluous.
Superfluous indeed.
Yeah.
Trey, how do you feel about it?
Well, think of it, if you made every piece in chess a queen, would that mean the game is more interesting or less interesting? And I would say it'd be less interesting, even though you'd have more freedom of movement with all of your pieces. Part of the fun of chess is learning how each of those pieces can be used most efficiently. So same thing in Imperial, like, yeah, we could build in these strategies where you just, do the thing and it's the most powerful strategy, but it's going to be a funner game if we force you to kind of innovate every time and come up with new things that work for your strategy every time instead of just doing the one thing every time you play.
Yeah, I think that's very important that when you get to a point where you have a dominant strategy, the game stops, right? Brad always talks about this all the time, that the gameplay or the fun of the game is the point where you go from learning to complete mastery.
It's the space between learning and mastery.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's cool about a lot of games in board gaming, but especially I think level 99 games, is that I don't think you can really master them because there's so much variability in it every time you play. So it's like you're forced to learn new strategies every time, unless, for instance, in Imperial, unless you play with the same exact captains, the same exact map, and the same exact specialists, then your strategy that worked in the last game is not necessarily going to be the best strategy in the next game you play.
Yeah, which is impossible, by the way, because by the pure definitions of the rules, you have to always have a variable set of specialists, right?
That is correct.
So
yeah, and I didn't even mention spell cards. Like the spell cards also come out randomly. So yeah.
Yeah, so you have to adapt. Like
some strategies may not even be available to you.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so
from
good.
one game to another. I really think what I really love about the variable setup in Imperial is the distribution of specialists.
Right.
The specialist work where a certain number are in the pool. And of, say, like the 25 or 30 that exist, you will have about 7 or 8 in the pool. And when you choose a specialist, you get to pick up that stack and look at them. You choose one power, and it's going to be your guiding principle for the rest of the game, really. And those specialists, the specialists that are in the pool, so drastically change the strategies available to you. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. And now let's piggyback off that question for the last question of this Brad, Marco, Trey Power Hour mailbag segment. And it's, what is your Imperial dream team? Give me your captains and your specialists. So can I go first?
Oh, this is tough because even like this, like I said, the specialists may not be available in every game.
Yeah, but it's a dream team. It's a dream team, Brad. Like in an ideal scenario, like what would you get? So in my opinion, mine would obviously be Kerrigan as my captain, because gotta skip all them spaces, right? I really like
fast, yeah.
John as a surveyor, mostly because I think John is just brokenly good. For people who don't know, John just lets you like place 3 tiles wherever as an action. That's really strong. And then my station master, I forget which station master does this, but you know how in Imperial, right, you always have to do move then activate the rondel? There's a specialist that lets you activate then move, right?
Right.
I believe it's Peril.
It's Peril?
Peril the Poltergeist, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so Peril would be my other one. And then for my engineer thing, probably one of the people who lets you gain mana when you do it. But that's it. Like, really, I just want a mana generator, a big burst of movement near the end, a captain that lets me skip my stuff, and the specialist that lets me activate then move, so that I can constantly abuse the positioning on the board and double dip on specific spaces. I really like that strategy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think, for me, I really like the Caterpillar leader, Marcinet, who lets you move your trains around. And probably my favorite of the surveyors would be Ariel, who can destroy trains. I also really enjoy the character who replenishes the map. I believe that's Almir. And the character that lets you consume goods to gain more mana, Darius. And with a combination like this, you can really control you can accelerate very quickly into a lot of mana, and then use that mana to populate the board to whatever resources that you want. And then you can also control your trains so that you are moving onto and off of spaces that you need, and also destroying opponents' trains that are inconvenient for you. This allows you to capture a lot of the end game points that are available through the what do you call them? The award tiles. Because in this game, the number of points is fairly small, and the award tiles, which give 6 points, I believe, are a very large influence on on who can win.
Yeah. How about you, Trey? What do you feel?
Let's see. There is. I don't think I have a dream combo because again, your choices are limited as to what specialists are available in that game. But as I mentioned on the stream earlier today, I really like the captain, the other Caterpillar captain, which lets you jump around to other forests. Because that really opens the map up. You can get around really fast, just kind of teleporting to different forests. And I mean, the Star Chaser captain that lets you summon on the edge of the map is also super powerful for that reason. So those are probably my favorite captains. And then for engineer, I really like the engineer that's kind of like Kerrigan's power, but it's not as good. It lets you make a rondelle move at a cheaper mana cost. So that kind of just opens up your rondelle. I really like the Station Master that gives you a mana every turn, like a refresh mana every turn, because
that's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
Because there's so many times in Imperial, it's like if I only had one more mana, but with that guy, you will always have at least one more mana. And then for Surveyor, I really like the Surveyor that lets you take an extra turn, especially at the end of the game, because sometimes people won't see it coming, so the other players don't realize you're about to take the double turn of doom and just do a bunch of cool stuff.
And end the game, yeah.
So I really like that.
The one that lets you do an extra delivery is just right on par with that too, where you can just snap a delivery, because that can end the game at an unexpected turn.
Exactly.
As well.
No, it feels like purple Technomancy mages and freaking... Sorry.
Yeah. The time manipulation is real.
Yeah, time manipulation is real. All right, so that's
Speaking
enough.
of time manipulation, we are out of time here.
Oh,
yes.
What a segue. Oh my god, George, the god of segues.
Oh man. It's not a segue, it's an entire train, Marco.
Oh, that's true. An entire train of digression. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the New Level Cap podcast. I hope all of you enjoyed this quick Imperial talk that we've had with me, Brad, and designer Trey, the train cart chambers. I don't know. I don't know. Train man, Trey boy. I don't know. What's your nickname, Trey? What do people call you?
Well, Trey is actually a nickname. It's not my legal name, but my legal name's a secret, so I can't tell you.
Your legal name is Train.
Exactly.
We didn't know.
His legal name is secret, but it's the same as a character in King of Fighters.
I see. So Iori Chambers.
Yeah, you could just call me Iori.
Yeah. So Iori Chambers, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate everything. Again, listener, if you liked anything you've heard about Imperial on this episode, please check the description down below. Imperial is available for pre-order, so even if you missed out on the Kickstarter, you can still get Imperial now. Is there anything you want to say, Trey, before we head out and close out this episode?
Sure. I'll go ahead and plug my own Twitter, which is eternally bored. Bored as in board games. There's no underscore or anything. If you go to that Twitter, you'll also link to my website, which is another board game podcast. So if you don't have enough board game podcasts in your life, there's yet another one. And you can go check my podcast out.
Do any of us?
We talk about level 99 stuff. We talk about all kinds of games. Also social issues in the game community, of which there seems to be more and more of lately. So definitely check that out if you are interested.
I'm interested. Right. I'm Brad. Hopefully you're interested too, and hopefully Michael and George
I'm
are
eternally bored.
Dang it. I hate all of you.
Actually, Trey's eternally bored.
We're done.
But
we're ending this podcast.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, World of Indians, and good night.
Wait, we haven't done the sign out yet. As usual, it has been me, your host, Mark DeSantos, also known as the Mechanic Critic, and with me has been my amazing co-host,
Trey Chambers.
You're not Trey. Brad.
Oh,
no.
Well, he didn't say it. Somebody had to say it.
You're the co-host.
No.
I'm the guest, dude.
Oh, okay, sure. All right. I'm Brad, whose name has not been shuffled with Trey. All right, Brad Talton, your co-host.
You're right.
On the Level Cap podcast. And with us has been
Trey Chambers.
Our most excellent guest. You did too early. Okay, our most excellent guest.
Trey Chambers, sometimes referred to as Chris in this podcast.
Excellent. Good.
All right.
Good job. All right.
Great job.
That's a cut.
That's great. Thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget your train actions, and thank you, World of Indians. Thank you, and good night.
Happy gaming.
Happy gaming.
Choo-choo. All right, we're done. That was a disaster.
The New Level Cap podcast is produced by Level 99 Games. Join us next Wednesday for more design talk and shenanigans. Thank you for listening.